at Eminent Comics. SammieJ, welcome.
What's up? What's up?
How you doing today, man?
I'm good. No complaints. I'm blessed, man. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Glad you could make it today. And man, I've been following you on Instagram, loving all the stuff you're posting. Got some great stuff in the works out there. So let's talk about that. Tell us about yourself first, your background, how you got to the place where you're at.
Well, I'm a North Carolina native. I was born and raised all in Wake County, the 919 area. That's my home. Um, and I actually, I never really was into comics like that until like 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
My first passion was acting, producing, directing, and that's still my first passion. But I really decided that I wanted to create comics to kind of get a gateway into acting and directing and producing. You know, I'm hoping that by doing my comics like that, it will lead me into acting and directing and things like that. Because, you know, with comics, it's endless. You know, there's so many things you can do with it, especially in the cinematic realm. So I think when Iron Man first came out, I went to go see that. And I was like, wow, this movie is so dope. Hadn't read a actual Marvel comic in a while because I started off reading Strange Tales comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't read like a Doctor Strange comic in a long time. So I went right back to it, and it kind of just led me to where I was. I was like, you know, I want to create heroes that actually look like me and represent me and my culture and my people. And that led me to Eminent Comics.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you've been a fan of comics since 12, 13. Do you remember your first comic?
I want to say, I know for a fact, the first comic that I like read through all the way, deeply enjoyed, had all the issues to it, was the Civil War comic in Marvel.
Ah, yeah.
That's still to this day, one of my favorite comic story arcs ever. Like the whole development of each characters, the divide between Iron Man and Captain America, how it kind of presented like, you pick a side. Who do you feel was right? Who do you feel was wrong? The details that we got into it, it really gave us a chance to look at some of like the minor heroes, and I'm a fan of like the minor heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so dope. It was so cool. I love that story arc.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned a minute ago you're creating heroes that look like you, that represent you and your culture. My son is black, and when I remember when the Flash TV series was casting or announced their casting for Kid Flash, and Kid Flash in the TV series is black, you know? And so my son, his jaw about dropped on the floor when he saw that there was a superhero that looked like him. Do you remember the first time you saw a superhero and who that superhero was that looked like you, that you were like, that could be me?
Ooh, the first superhero I saw that looked like me was John Stewart, Green Lantern, back in DC Justice League, the Justice League Unlimited, and you know the Justice League cartoons, classic cartoons, by the way. Like, still to this date, one of the best comic cartoons they have out.
I agree. I agree.
Seeing John Stewart and knowing that there's a black Green Lantern, I was like, wow, that's dope, because I didn't even know that. It introduced me to that. And as far as like live action, I would say the first black hero that I saw live action was Wesley Snipes in Blade.
Yeah.
And again, another classic.
Getting ready to do a reboot on that, but it looks like it's going to be awesome still.
Absolutely.
All right. So you're creating a whole comic universe really right now. Elements Chapter 1 is out. People can buy it on your website. But you have a lot more plans. So tell us what's happening in the Eminent Comics universe. What's going on? What's going to happen next?
So what I recently went through a whole rebranding period, because what I was doing is I was giving everybody, or I was introducing all these characters. And I had so many people DM me, you know, asking me like, okay, well, when is this character going to come out? We've seen Elements, we've seen the Camila Vega. Like, well, when is this one going to come out? How do they connect it here? I was like, well, you know what? Let me slow down a little bit and let me just reboot this in a sense. So Elements Chapter 1 and really the whole Element story arc it is so fundamental to my universe because it's the glue that holds everything together. It's all connected in a way. And I'm creating this giant universe full of superheroes, and Elements kind of gives you the origin story for my Earth's, superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
It's explaining every single superhero, how they got their powers, things like that, how they operate. And it's super important that you pay attention to, Alpha and Omega. They kind of tie in with everything. Alpha being the god of time, controlling Earth's timelines,
Mm-hmm.
and his ability to, manipulate time, move forward in time, move in the past. And, Omega being the god of darkness, his counterpart who has the ability to control, create darkness, and he can manipulate the timelines with darkness to, in a sense, his liking.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, you're going to get to explore each character, not only in the Element series, but I'm building up to where each character is going to be explained and they're going to interact with the elementals. And that's why it's so important. And that's why I'm really focusing, on Elements. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 is actually being illustrated right now. Chapter 3,
Cool.
I'm actually writing it right now. So
Nice.
I have it so much stuff going on.
Chapter 1 was great. I had a chance to read over it and I loved it. I love the Alpha and the Omega characters. Really cool. I can see how that's going to be instrumental to the whole universe and really a great opening to it. That's awesome. If you haven't read Chapter 1, if you're out there watching this and you haven't read Chapter 1, go over to the site, buy. I think it's only $1.99 for a digital download, isn't it?
Only $1.99, man.
I mean, come on, guys, go buy that.
Right. Go buy it.
So, who is your biggest in creating this comics universe and publishing your own comics? Do you have a person or people who are an inspiration to you or are mentors to you in this that have just helped you along the way?
Definitely. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic or funny when I say this, but every indie creator that I've reached out to is an inspiration to me. And every indie creator that I've reached out to, again, they have motivated me and worked with me and gave me so many good details. And, Concrete Comics, all of them over there, from Lonzo to Jamil to Anaji, to Wilson, who's Talasha at the Stars. He's in North Carolina. Yeah. He's in Wilmington. Yep. So, meeting a fellow creator, a Black one at that, in North Carolina, super dope. Me and him are actually working on a project together right now.
Awesome.
My good buddy Malcolm, I think you did an interview with him.
Yeah.
For his comic NG series and NG Comics and all that. All those guys, man, I'm developing like a brotherhood with them. They give me feedback about my material. They are definitely inspiring me. Jason Barrett, his J Beyond Comics, all that. Yeah. It's so inspirational and so good to see them winning and yeah. Really grinding. I love that.
Yeah, I agree. All those people you mentioned are fantastic, and I think I've talked to all of them. They're all just great people. So what's the next? You said Elements, Chapter 2 is being illustrated now. You're writing Chapter 3. What's after Elements? How many issues of Elements are there going to be?
So there's going to be a lot of issues or chapters, I should say, of Elements, just because they each have their own story arc. With this right here, what we're in right now is just the beginning phase, and Elements Chapter 6 is going to lead to introducing a whole separate group of heroes, a whole separate team of heroes that you're going to be met with. And then after that, you're going to start getting deeper in depth, more origin stories. Like I'm actually already working on Kiani's, who's Alpha's daughter. She has her own little story arc within the Elements team that's solely focused around her. And it's so many things that's going on. Not only does Kiani get her own story arc, but Titan gets his own story arc, as well as Helios. And then you get to switch over to sides, and Celine gets her own story arc, which I've already completed that. Ryder, who will be introduced in Chapter 2, and Hurricane get their own story arc and develop on everything. It's a lot going on, man.
That's awesome. I'm excited. So I realize, I've read it. You've obviously written it, so you know the storyline, but we didn't really break down Elements per se. So give a real quick synopsis of Elements.
So Elements chapter 1 is really you're diving into the Eminent Comic universe. And Elements chapter 1 is so fundamental and so important because you're getting to see what this universe is going to be about. You're introduced to Alpha and his daughter, and Alpha calls all the people on his team his children because he's a father figure, and that's something that you're definitely going to have to know. You'll see Alpha as a father figure to a lot of people because he presents himself that way. And he is a god himself, but he's somebody who craves humanity, a god that wants to be human, but he can't because of his responsibilities. And that's something you'll see with Alpha. But anyways, you're getting to this universe where Alpha, he's trying to really connect with his daughter, but you'll notice a quick conflict between Kiani and Alpha, and in the midst of that, out of the blue, Omega appears and he just starts causing chaos as soon as he's on the scene.
I mean, really kicking.
As soon as you're introduced to Omega, you're like, okay, he's the guy. You can just get that from him. He's the guy. And you see Dark Lightning, or Kenya, who is Omega's daughter. And you already see a little bit of relationship between Kiani, Dark Lightning, and even Helios, if you once you get into it. And all these guys, they're fighting for something, and the something that they're fighting for ultimately is time. And it's a little Easter egg in there that's put in there that I don't know if a lot of people will pick up on, but it's an Easter egg that's setting up what this whole little story arc is going to be about. That's put in there, and I'm not going to give that away, but just know that they're pretty much all fighting for the concept of time and time itself.
Very cool. Very cool. Again, if you're out there watching this, you haven't bought it yet, go buy it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk other indie self-published comics. You talked a little bit about your mentors. What projects out there that aren't yours are you excited about seeing come out? Anything right now?
Oh, I know that Concrete has their Kickstarter 2 coming out with Odina, Acolyte, and Absolver. I personally have the physical copies for all of those. I love each and every one of them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do and where they go with their universe, and I'm just so excited, especially with that Odina story arc. I love that, and I really wanted to see what he's building up. I did a live with him actually the other day. And I was trying to get him to pry a little bit, what he's going to be doing. But he won't budge.
Onaji is so tight-lipped, isn't he?
He is.
He's not giving any secrets away. He's a good guy. I love him. I'm going to be talking with them on Sunday. So when we air this, it'll be the next day talking about their Kickstarter, which will hopefully maybe be live by then. We'll find out.
Right.
So awesome. Yeah. I'm really excited for those books also. You mentioned Jason Barrett too. He's working on a new series, The Age of Heroes and Villains, I think is what it's called. That looks really cool.
Absolutely. It looks amazing. I think, later on in the future, if my mind is right, I see definitely a collaboration between me and Jason. I would just love our creative minds to come together and come up with something. I know that he's such a creative genius in his own right, and how he's developing his own universe. I would love it if me and him could just come together on something, just because I feel like our characters would fit so perfectly with each other. I would love for that collaboration to eventually happen.
So let's talk about that for a minute. That's one potential crossover you want to see. If you could pick any other crossovers between Eminent and any other indie publisher out there, dream world, what would it be?
I would love to also cross over with Talasha.
Yeah.
I definitely want to know more about that character. I want to see, and I could just, because of her design and her concept, that really drew me to that character. I really look for art and characters, and it's such a unique style that I hadn't seen on any other character. And I definitely would love, I'm going to speak it to existence. Me and Wilson, we're definitely going to do a crossover with Talasha, one of my characters, whoever it be. I don't know who it would be yet. I don't know who can match her energy, but it's definitely going to be somebody that we do a crossover with. So stay tuned for that.
I want to see all three of you guys do crossover. So I just recently did an indie comics throwdown between Talasha and Heru as verses, because they're both kind of these cosmic characters, and I could totally see Talasha being a prequel to the stars bringing the power to Earth, and then let's throw you in there too and just do a big massive three-way crossover.
Absolutely. Why not? Might as
Exactly. I
well.
mean, we're
It
talking
definitely
gods,
can
we're
happen.
talking stars and light, and so why the hell not?
Right, just throw Alpha in there somewhere, him
Yeah.
manipulating time somehow. And see, it works perfect.
It
just
works.
like that.
It works.
Got it right in my head.
Okay, so now Wilson and Jason, if you're watching this, make it happen.
Make it happen.
So if you could give somebody new coming into comics, trying to make their own first indie comic, any piece of advice, what would it be?
My biggest piece of advice would be find a team.
Mm.
Before you lay down the foundation, find a team of people who believe in your project just as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is definitely probably one of my biggest regrets, because I do this solo dolo. I'm knocking everything out. I commend the people who have found them a team, and people who have found them, whether it be editors, promoters, strictly certain artists they want to work with, because it allows you to grow this bond with the person.
Mm-hmm.
And having somebody that for a fact that is believing in your work just as much as you are, it makes the process a lot easier, because I don't think a lot of people understand how stressful it can be being an indie creator.
Right.
None of us out here are like millionaires, billionaires, like that. So doing this process, it can be very hard and difficult, and I definitely say find you a team, because you're going to need somebody to talk to. You're going to need somebody, to challenge your ideas and your creativity. And like I said, all around, build that bond and that brotherhood with. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to start you a comic universe, before you really get into it, before you get to find the artist, find you a team of people behind you.
That's great advice. Great advice. Sammie, tell people where they can find your work and other ways they can support you.
Again, you can always find my work right on links of my bios and both my Instagram and my Facebook pages. Of course, my primary account is Eminent Comics, and it's a link right there. My personal account, where it's just really pictures of me, random pictures of me. And if you want to follow that, it's the real SammieJ _. Don't be afraid to follow that. Again, there's a link for that in my bio. And I'm also on Facebook. I just joined the Facebook. It's Sammie Jordan. There's a link in the bio for that. Take you right to my page. I will have hard copies coming soon of Elements, and I'm again working on another big project. So it's so much stuff that I have coming for you guys that I'm super excited to share with you guys. It's a lot. Like, I don't even really want to get too deep into it, because I don't want to give anything away. And I know me, like, I throw spoilers out there just like that.
Not all of us can be Onaji.
Right. Not all of us can.
Next project, will that be, you going to do a Kickstarter or any crowdfunding for that, or is it just going to be on the website?
I'm definitely looking to do a Kickstarter. I would say probably by the start of 2021.
Okay.
I want to go ahead and knock out this Elements things first, especially, with chapter 2, because I know that is going to turn some heads. I know that is going to get you guys really, really talking, because it's really, like I said, laying down that origin story for my universe. And that's what's so good and so sweet about the Elements comic itself. It's not an origin story for the characters, it's an origin story for the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So everything in Eminent is going to relate back to Elements, to chapters 1 through 6. It's all going to relate back, and you guys are going to get to see this massive universe that was created over 6 chapters. And so that's why I'm super excited to share it with you. And one thing you'll also notice is that each chapter is going to be longer than the other. So there's going to be a lot more information in each of them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Can't wait for issue 2 to come out. Issue 1 was really great. Great job on that. Great job laying down that basis. I really loved it. The depth that you're starting to put into the characters, I can see that building, and that's going to make for a really good read. Well thought out, well planned. If you guys out there haven't read it yet, go over. He told you where to follow him, where to get it. Go over there. It's $1.99. You spend more on that at like Starbucks or king size Reese's. I mean, come on.
Fact.
Go buy the book, help support SammieJ and Eminent Comics, and help him produce more comics so that I can read more of his comics. Okay, that's what this is all about. SammieJ, thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Stay in touch, and as you release more projects, let us know, and we'll pump it out there, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. We'll see you next time, everybody.